Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kseniya. In today's video, I will show you how to fill out the new online N-400 application, the April 1st, 2024 edition. Let's talk about the benefits of filing the N-400 application online. Firstly, it gives you a $50 fee discount. Secondly, the form will automatically adjust based on your answers. It will take away or add certain sections depending on your situation. And finally, it is much easier to organize your evidence so that you don't have to go through the lengthy form instructions at the end of the online application based on your eligibility, based on your answers. They will give you the specific list of evidence that you will need to provide. I will also link below a document that USCIS published with answers to some of the frequently asked questions about the new N-400 application. Okay, so to start the form, you can either click on File a Form Online or go to My Account, File a Form Online. Next, select the form that you would like to file, which is N-400. Read the requirements needed to be able to apply for naturalization and click Start Form. It will direct you to the eligibility tool, which you can use. And if you would like to see what the tool looks like, you can check out the video I made about the eligibility tool and where I explain what each of the questions means. But today we will go directly to the N-400 application. Before you start the form, they give you some, again, reminders of your eligibility. So it no longer tells you what the fee is. You will have to check this form. If you're filing by paper, it's $760. If you're filing online, it's a $50 discount. And if you are eligible for a fee waiver or reduction, you cannot file the form online. You will have to file it by paper. So let's go back to the form. It'll give you some tips for completing your form online. You do not have to complete the form in one sitting. You can come back to it and make changes. And as long as you make changes in the form and save it, the 30-day mark will reset. If you do not touch your form for 30 days, it will be deleted. So let's start. First, they will ask you, what is your eligibility? So the general provision is for people who are applying on a general 5-year rule. You may also be applying as a spouse of a U.S. citizen or any of these special categories. The general provision will shorten the form significantly. It will omit questions about your current marriage. Let's say we will apply as a spouse of a U.S. citizen so that I can show you at the end the evidence that they will ask from you. It asks you if somebody is assisting you with completing this application. Let's say no, but if you have an interpreter or a preparer completing this form, that you may say yes. And if you click any of these, then it will ask you to provide your name and information. So let's say nobody's assisting us in this case. We'll say no. As you can see, it shortened the form. Answer questions about yourself. So let's start with your name. And by the way, you do not have to fill everything out in caps. This is just my personal preference. And any fields that do not apply to you, do not write an A or anything like that you would normally in a paper form. Just leave it blank. It asks if you have ever used any other names since birth, including maiden names, family names at birth, aliases, etc. And also this includes alternate spellings or variations of your names. Then it will ask you if you would like to legally change your name, which means that during the naturalization process, you can legally change your name basically for free. So you obviously will have to pay the actual N-400 application fee, but you will not have to later pay additional fees to obtain a name change certificate or an updated naturalization certificate. If you would like to change your name, you can say yes. The only thing you need to keep in mind, you will not be able to have your naturalization ceremony probably the same day as your interview. In addition, your naturalization ceremony will then take place in a court instead of a field office with many other people. So you will then naturalize in court in front of a judge. In addition, your process may take a little bit longer because they will have to run background checks on your new name. So provide the new name that you would like to use. If, for example, you changed your name during your green card application process and on your green card you have your new name, for example, your marriage name, then you do not have to change your name in the naturalization process, because with the new green card application, if it has your desired name on your green card already, then you do not have to select that you will be changing your name. Click next. Provide your phone number. Select if your mobile number is the same as your daytime number, and your email will be typed in automatically from your USCIS account. Provide your current physical address. You do not have to say in care of name. You can leave it blank if you personally receive mail at your physical address. And provide your address here. And input the date when you moved to this current address. Next, it will ask us to provide our current mailing address or safe mailing address if you fall under special categories like Violence Against Women Act. So if your mailing and physical address are the same, you simply click this button and it will automatically fill it in for you. If your mailing address is different, then you will have to indicate it here. They also give you a special instruction for people who receive mail at PO boxes, or if you are a student, or if you live overseas. So read these instructions carefully. Now you will need to provide your address history for the past 5 years if you're applying based on a 5-year rule, or the last 3 years if you're applying based on a 3-year rule, such as if you are a spouse of a U.S. citizen, for example. In our case, we are a spouse of a U.S. citizen, so we will only need to provide address for the past 3 years. So click on Add Address. You do not have to provide the address that we just put in our current address on the previous page. So start putting in the addresses where you have lived before your current address. And answer when you have lived here. And you want to move in the backwards order. So the first address you will input is the address directly before your present address. Let's add another address before that one. Once you've finished inputting your address history, click Next. It will ask you if you have any disabilities that prevents you from taking the English and civics tests. Let's say no. Click Next. Provide your date of birth. It asks you once again if one of your parents was a U.S. citizen before your 18th birthday. So if you answer yes, the form will tell you that you may already be a U.S. citizen through your parents. The form N-400 may not be for you. Most applicants will probably answer no to this question. And provide your country of birth. Next. Provide your country of citizenship and nationality. If you have multiple nationalities, you can indicate them later in the additional information section of this form. But here, provide the country of citizenship or nationality, the passport of which you used to enter the United States most recently, or the visa that you have received before you became a permanent resident. Provide the issue date on your green card. And if you have not met the 3-year requirement, including the 90-day early filing period, they will tell you that you're not yet eligible, and they will tell you when your eligibility date may be. If you do meet that requirement, then there will be no alert. Provide your A number. Next. It asks you if you would like to get an original or replacement social security card and update your immigration status when you're naturalized. And it also applies to you if you indicated that you would like to change your name during this process. You will answer yes to receive a new social security card. In most cases, you would likely say yes, at least to update your immigration status with the Social Security Administration and authorize them to share information with each other, and provide your social security number and provide your online account number. If you have filed applications online before, or if you have had cases with USCIS that you have tracked, your online account number will automatically be filled in. Answer additional information, your gender, your ethnicity, and your race. It does give you a summary of what race you might fall under. Provide your height, your weight, your eye color, and your hair color. Next, provide your employment/unemployment and school history for the last 5 years, unless you are applying as a spouse of a U.S. citizen or any of these special categories. Then you only need to provide that history for the past 3 years. And when you started working here, and indicate if you currently work here, and indicate the employer's address. Save entry, and it will tell you if you are missing information for the following date range, which is very useful. I wish they did that for address history as well. So once your address history is complete, you will no longer see a yellow alert. And if you had multiple employments at the same time, or if you're presently employed at multiple things, or if you are employed and going to school, you can add that here too. Click next. It asks you if you have taken any trips outside the US in the past 5 years. If you're applying based on a 3-year rule, marriage to a US citizen, you will only need to fill in the travel history for the past 3 years, since you became a permanent resident. So let's say yes. And again, you want to move backwards and only count the trips that were 24 hours or longer. So if you went to Mexico or Canada for 1 day, you do not have to count that trip. And by the way, because you're now a permanent resident, you will not be able to obtain an I-94 travel history online like you did before you applied for a green card. You're going to have to rely on your own memory, recollection, ticket dates to see when you traveled. If you traveled to multiple countries in one trip, you will need to add them all here, so save entry. So if we indicate here that we have taken a trip that was longer than 6 months, it will ask us in the evidence portion to provide proof of our continuous residence. It's not that it will give us an alert and automatically disqualify us from applying for naturalization, but it will ask us to provide proof whether we have maintained continuous presence. But again, if you did take a trip longer than 6 months, it is likely that your timer has reset unless you fall under any of these special circumstances. Once you finished your travel history information, click next. Provide your current marital status. Select any of these. Let's say we are married, then we will need to provide information about our current spouse only because we are applying based on a 3-year marriage to a US citizen rule. We are applying based on general provision. You will not be asked to provide information about your current spouse. Moving on. Answer if your spouse is currently a member of US Armed Forces, and how many times total you have been married. Provide your current spouse's name. Again, this is only for people who are applying based on marriage to a US citizen rule. The spouse's date of birth and when you married. And if your current spouse lives with you now, again, this is only required for people who are applying based on a spouse rule because you need to have been married for at least 3 years and living together for at least 3 years at the time of applying for naturalization. If you answer no, you may not be eligible to naturalize if you don't reside with your spouse. Click next. Provide when your spouse became a US citizen, let's say by birth in the US, If you answer other, like naturalization, for example, you will need to provide their naturalization date. And again, if that naturalization date is less than 3 years ago, then you may not be eligible to naturalize. Provide their A number if your spouse was born in the US. They do not have an A number. And provide how many times your current spouse has been married. If you answer more than one, you will then also be asked to provide proof at the end of their prior marriages also ending. Next. Provide information about your children, and this is one big difference between prior N-400 application and current N-400 application. Now you only need to provide information about children who are under the age of 18, and it includes all children under age of 18, including stepchildren. So if your US citizen spouse has minor children, they are technically considered your stepchildren, so you will include their names here as well. So provide the number of those children. Let's say we have one child, so then add a child information. Provide their legal name, when they were born, where does the child reside, what their relationship is to you, and are you providing support for this child? If this child is residing with you, you're most likely going to say yes, that you are providing support for this child. If there is children who are, for example, not residing with you, you will also then have to answer if you are providing support in terms of child support, for example. Save entry, and you can add as many children as needed. Once finished, click next. Now you will be asked a series of questions about your moral character. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I will point out some of the more important ones or some of the more confusing ones. Answer if you have ever claimed to be a US citizen. If you answer yes, you may not be eligible for naturalization. So hopefully you will answer no to this question. And if you have ever registered to vote in any elections, if you are not yet a US citizen, you're not eligible to vote. Click next. It asks you if you have any nobility in other countries. Probably no. It asks you if you owe any federal, state, or local taxes. As a permanent resident, you are required to file taxes. You are required to pay back any taxes that you owe. If you owe any federal or state or local taxes in the US that you have not yet paid, you will have to answer yes and provide an explanation. If you owe taxes but you have a payment plan, for example, you can provide an explanation that looks something like this. But you will, of course, need to provide evidence of your payment plan with the IRS. If, however, you pay off your taxes before you click submit on this application, you decide to pay off all the back taxes in full, then you would answer no. It asks you, have you ever claimed to be a non-resident for tax purposes? If you answer yes, that may make you ineligible to naturalize because you are required to file as a resident. So probably no. Click next. Then it asks you if you have ever been involved in any parties or groups that are unfavored by the US. And if you come from a country like China, for example, and if you have ever had to be involuntarily involved in the Communist Party, you most likely will have to answer yes to this question and not only provide an explanation, but also consult with an attorney before you apply for naturalization so that you don't make a mistake, and then answer additional questions about security, violent activities. If you answer yes to any of the questions in this particular subsection, I recommend that you hire an attorney. This question about membership in any military or police units, if you have been in a compulsory military service in your home country, you will have to answer yes and provide an explanation, include what country you served in, what the name of the unit, your position, your dates of involvement, and explanation. You could say that it was a compulsory or a required service. Same applies if you have ever been trained in your military unit to work with weapons. you would then also provide the same explanation. So, for example, this question, you may have to also answer yes to this question. For example, if you received military training, the next subsection asks you about if you have committed any crimes. People have often confusion about this, especially with this part where it says, have you ever been arrested, cited, or detained? So citations like speeding tickets or traffic violations also count. Include any crimes and offenses that happened before you were 18. Even if somebody tells you that it is no longer on your record, it is always best to answer yes if you have ever had any of these infractions and provide an explanation. You will also then be asked to provide evidence and read the form instructions in terms of providing evidence of traffic violations. There are certain violations that you do not have to provide evidence for, but you still need to provide an explanation of what happened. The question below is also similar. Answer honestly. It will then ask you to provide your crime and offense history. Again, if you have not committed any crimes, if you answered no to the prior questions, you will simply skip this part. Continue to answer questions about additional illegal activities. If you have ever been part of removal proceedings such as asylum court, immigration court, you will have to answer yes and explain why. And if you have ever been removed or deported in the past, obviously, answer yes or no. Next, you will need to answer a question about selective service. If you are a man and you were a permanent resident between 18 and 26, you will have to provide proof of your selective service registration. So even if right now you are not 26 anymore, but you were a permanent resident between 18 and 26, you'll answer yes. If you were undocumented between this time, you would also answer yes. Or if you had DACA, for example, you would also answer yes. If, however, you were an international student or you were a visitor, then you answer no to this question. If you registered for selective service, it will ask you information about your registration number and when you registered. And if you did not, you will need to provide information about why you failed to register. Click this link and it will take you directly to this selective service page for immigrants. And it will explain here what you need to do. So let's say in our case, we're obviously a woman, so we'll say no. The next questions will ask you additional questions about being in the U.S. Armed Forces. Next, it will ask you a series of questions about your allegiance to the U.S. Constitution. It is expected for the most part that you will answer yes to most of these questions. Do you support the Constitution? So then it will take you to the evidence page. Because we are applying based on the spouse of a U.S. citizen rule, it will ask us for additional evidence. It will ask us for evidence of our name change because Jane indicated that she had a different variation, a spelling of her name, and also that she had a maiden name. You will need to upload official documents here that indicate those names. You will be asked to provide a clear copy of the front and the back of your green card. Next, because we're applying based on our marriage to a U.S. citizen, you will need to provide the proof of your spouse's U.S. citizenship. So it can either be their birth certificate copy or naturalization or whatever else serves as proof of their citizenship. Next, it will ask you to provide proof of your current marriage, so current marriage certificate, and also any prior marriage documents. So even though we did not need to provide the information about our prior spouses, we still need to provide proof that those prior marriages also ended legally. And this applies to both the person applying for naturalization and also our U.S. citizen spouse. So don't miss that part. Next, we will need to provide evidence about our marriage. So this is the bona fide marriage evidence. Being in an actual marital union for at least 3 years before you file the N-400. You can obviously provide any evidence prior to the 3 years if you think it will help. And unlike the I-130 application, if you went through that process, this one holds a lot more weight on joint financial responsibilities with you and your spouse, as well as evidence of you guys paying taxes together, living together, add any other evidence like birth certificates of your children. So this part will appear for most applicants, and it asks about child and spousal support. If you have children who live apart with you, then here you will need to provide evidence of you taking care of those children. If you do not have any children, or if your children reside with you, you can simply skip this portion. And you will get a message that says you should provide evidence. It doesn't say you must. So it will still let you submit the application even if you don't upload anything here. Click next. You will need to provide proof of your continuous presence. In our case, we have indicated that we have taken trips more than 6 months. Then you will need to prove to them that we still maintained our continuous residence in the US in terms of this evidence. Next, they ask us to provide our tax documents for the past 3 years if you're applying based on this rule, or for the past 5 years. So you'll need to upload those tax transcripts here. If we indicated that we owe past due taxes, then you will also need to provide proof here. And you can download proof of your payment plan with the IRS also from your online IRS account. And finally, provide any additional evidence that you choose to add here if you want to. If you have nothing else to add, if you have added all the required evidence on the list here, then you simply do not have to do anything, and you can click next and ignore this alert. If you have any additional information to provide, say for example, you currently hold dual citizenship, you can add an entry and select this section which you are explaining. And if you have no additional information to add, then you can simply ignore this part. And finally, it will take us to the page which will tell us our fee and if there are any warnings in your application. If we click next, it will give us a summary of our application. Print the summary for your records. Although if you file the N-400 application online, after you submit it on your homepage, you will be able to download a copy of your N-400 online application. So once you finish the review, click next. Certify and sign here. So providing your full legal name will satisfy your signature requirements. When you click next, it will take you to the submit application page, and it will then also take you to the payment page where you will be able to provide card or bank account information to pay for the application. I hope that you found this video useful. Let me know if you have any additional questions in the comments below. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, if you found it useful. And I hope to see you guys in my next videos. Bye!